Okay, Jim. Since you are my guest and I am your host, what are your pleasures? What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess? Review Wild Wild West?
Well, let's play chess. Checkmate.
Well, I'll be damned. I guess I'll have to review that Western comedy after all.
Man, why you do that to yourself?
You don't really want to know that.
I do.
Well, if you must pry.
I must.
I don't know if you've heard of me before, but I used to be known as the movie reviewing kid.
Well, if you're the kid, then show me something.
Alright, well, you asked for it. This is Movie Night! Hello and welcome to Movie Night, in-depth film reviews in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Jonathan Paula. Tonight we'll take a look at Western comedies, from the granddaddy of them all to the most recent. We'll begin with Blazing Saddles. This $3 million satirical comedy western by acclaimed writer, director, and EGOT-winning Mel Brooks earned $120 million at the box office, following its February release in 1974. Nominated for 3 Academy Awards and listed 6th on AFI's Top 100 Comedies of All Time, the 93-minute film is also reportedly the first with a fart joke to be selected for preservation by the National Film Registry. After literally opening with the crack of a whip, the R-rated story follows Cleavon Little, a charismatic black man who is appointed sheriff of a small western town in hopes of driving out its racist inhabitants, so a corrupt politician can extend a railroad through the area. As the handsome sheriff with his own Gucci handbag, Little is especially amusing, keeping his dignity and wits about him amongst old western discrimination, particularly in a terrific scene where he tricks the slow townsfolk, all with the last name Johnson, by holding himself hostage. Their stupidity is later confirmed when his sidekick Gene Wilder reminds him, "These are people of the land, the common clay of the New West. You know, morons." Slim Pickens, Harvey Korman, Madeline Kahn, and Mel Brooks himself round out the talented supporting cast, each player contributing some rather exaggerated and goofy performances. While Pickens and Korman deliver the majority of the best jokes, the always enjoyable Wilder is sadly given very little to do, and feels particularly wasted in his smaller role. His inclusion in another Western comedy, The Frisco Kid co-starring Harrison Ford, that was released 3 years later, was a better fit for him. Brooks takes full advantage of the anamorphic frame, squeezing in plenty of sight gags and beautiful frontier scenery.
I got an idea that'll slow him down to a crawl.
All right, let's go. All right, come on. You guys go over there. Come on. The Petamine Thruway? Now what'll that asshole think of next? Has anybody got a dime?
I don't have a
Somebody's got to go back and get a shitload of dimes.
Deliberate anachronistic jokes are abound in a narrative supposedly set 100 years in the past, including references to the wide world of sports, Frank Sinatra music, and an inspired climax that sees the characters literally breaking the fourth wall, ending up right here in Mann's Chinese Theater. Littered with plenty of slapstick humor, wordplay, puns, and physical comedy, there are moments when the film delivers up to 10 jokes a minute in the tighter scenes. Plus, watching the large brute Mongo punch a horse in the face remains a hilarious moment 40 years later. And although it may be a bit tame by today's standards, the film pushes boundaries and tackles racism head-on. Backed by a light and playful score from longtime collaborator John Morris and some great original numbers by Brooks himself, the picture starts off very fast and interesting, but slows to a crawl for the middle act, before the aforementioned finale helps cement this picture's place in cinema history. A silly experience I probably shouldn't have seen as a kid, this is one movie I'm happy to revisit as an adult, still as entertaining as ever. Blazing Saddles. Juvenile laughs drive Western nonsense. Here are 3 of your reviews now from the YouTube comments. Our ratings for Blazing Saddles, a 10 and an 8. Your praise for this picture was unanimous, with many citing it as an all-time classic. You thought it was amazing. I've never been a huge fan of Mel Brooks. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy this film, and I laugh every time I see it, but it's also rather silly too, so I'm only going to give it a great. For tonight's poll question, what's your favorite Mel Brooks film? Leave your response as a comment below. Next up tonight, let's review Wild Wild West. This steampunk western action comedy film by director Barry Sonnenfeld is a loose adaptation of the 1960s TV series of the same name. Despite notoriously mixed reviews, the $170 million picture managed to earn over $50 million in profit when it was released in June of 1999. Will Smith and Kevin Kline star in the 106-minute adventure as two of the best gunslingers in the Old West, who attempt to save the president from a cunning 19th century inventor villain. At the height of his popularity, Smith is slick, handsome, charismatic, charming, and reasonably funny as he effortlessly moves from romancing a fine-looking lady to corralling a runaway stagecoach. Complete opposites in style and approach, the two make a perfect pair. Kline is the resourceful U.S. Marshal who prefers careful planning, disguises, and mechanical inventions, whereas Smith likes to, as one character puts it, shoot first, shoot later, shoot some more, and then when everybody's dead, try to ask a question or two. Meanwhile, the remarkably talented Kenneth Branagh is featured as the crackpot bad guy with distracting facial hair, and remains one of the more memorable aspects of the PG-13 rated picture, chewing the scenery with his overzealous southern accent at every opportunity. In a dual role, Kline also plays the President of the United States, again, resulting in some humorous moments where he shares a scene opposite himself. The film that famously broke Roger Ebert's long-standing Stanton-Walsh rule that stipulated no movie featuring either Harry Dean Stanton or M. Emmett Walsh in a supporting role can be altogether bad. If I may devise something similar, no film featuring the timelessly beautiful Salma Hayek can be altogether bad either. Her inclusion helps, pardon the pun, round out the talented, if underutilized cast. Showcasing plenty of impossible but fascinating gadgetry, the movie's visuals and style are both unique and interesting. A scene where our two intrepid heroes must outrun flying death magnets through a dense cornfield is particularly original and fun to watch unfold.
And that would be my belt buckle.
Gordon, when you're telling this story to your grandkids, you make sure that you leave this part out.
Don't worry.
All right, Gordon. I'm gonna undo your belt. I'm gonna run as fast as I can that way. You run as fast as you can the other way.
Let me make sure I understand your plan. You're going to run as fast as you can that way, and I'm going to run as fast as I can that way. It's ingenious.
Whatever, Gordon. 1, 2, 3.
Blending the period-accurate costumes and western locations with anachronistic steam-powered contraptions make for a less than consistent visual style, but the effects themselves are done well and look quite good. The musical score from Elmer Bernstein isn't anything special either, but remains suitably low-key and appropriate throughout. Although the film could have been about 10 minutes shorter, the adventure is paced well enough to keep you interested in its absurd premise and larger-than-life characters. Feeling more like a modern-day action movie wrapped in a post-Civil War setting than a proper western, the movie's tone, which bounces from serious to goofy, is perhaps its biggest flaw. If you're able to overlook the many shortcomings, however, it's a surprisingly fun and carefree adventure worth watching at least once or twice, especially for the superbly catchy pop song by Smith that closes out the picture. Wild Wild West. Unconventional heroics in unique situations. Now let's read the YouTube comments to see what you had to say. Our scores for Wild Wild West, a 5 and a 6. Some were very critical of the entire experience, while others were able to find some enjoyment out of this weird western. Your scores averaged to an alright. A very 90s action flick that might be flawed, it's still a fun, guilty pleasure. I thought it was good. A reminder now to check out the Movie Night Archive channel for an organized collection of all our reviews, and to hear my thoughts on upcoming movies, including an early full review for The Edge of Tomorrow, which you can watch by clicking the link below. Last up tonight, let's discuss A Million Ways to Die in the West. Following 2012's rather enjoyable Ted, this is the second live-action effort from writer-director-producer Seth MacFarlane and his Fuzzy Door Productions, which was released worldwide on May 30th, 2014, on a budget of $40 million. MacFarlane himself stars in this western comedy adventure as a cowardly sheepherder who falls in love with the new woman in town, the stunning Charlize Theron, before having to duel her notoriously evil gunslinger husband, Liam Neeson. The ensemble cast includes a host of talented individuals: Giovanni Ribisi, Sarah Silverman, Amanda Seyfried, Neil Patrick Harris, and a half-dozen truly awesome surprise cameos. In his live-action debut, MacFarlane is particularly convincing as he goes through several dramatic turns. The rest of the cast is also expertly utilized in each of their specific roles, with MacFarlane making fantastic use of the western landscape, particularly Monument Valley, which has never looked so beautiful in the wide frame. The R-rated story itself is a rather conventional rom-com set in the Old West, but it has some undeniably tender moments as well, set against the moon's glowing backlight. While the 116-minute picture lulls quite a bit between the funniest moments, when the jokes do arrive, they're laugh-out-loud hilarious. The noticeably modern-sounding dialogue is often lewd and blunt, with MacFarlane taking laughs wherever he can get them. whether they be pratfalls, diarrhea mishaps, or a gag involving a sheep's penis. It also pokes fun at the absurdity of the Old West itself, from its unorthodox medical practices to its amusingly simple children's toys, with the narrative making the best of its surroundings with some truly authentic costumes and sets.
I like your bustle, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I really love that the most alluring fashion statement a woman can make today is to simulate a fat ass.
That is a simulation of a fat ass right there. If I was a black guy, this is the meanest trick you could play on me. Because I'd be like, oh my God, look, there's a fat ass, my favorite. And then I'd lift it up and I'd be like, it's a big joke.
I know, exactly, because look, when you lift it up, there's nothing but a metal cage under there.
Wow. You are ready to relieve the stress of the day.
Delivering on its name, the film does indeed feature a number of gruesome but amusing deaths, and these unexpected scenes provide some of the film's funniest moments. With MacFarlane's character warning early, the American West is a terrible place in time. Everything out here that's not you wants to kill you. I make it a point to discuss the musical score of a film in nearly all of my reviews, but the work here by Joel McNeely deserves special praise. His majestic score is a fantastic ode to old-fashioned Western themes, fluttering beneath every scene and elevating this picture to wonderful heights. Never taking itself too seriously, the almost believable story is filled with strong characters, fun moments, and a nice message about self-worth and standing up for yourself. Like most comedies these days, though, I was disappointed that various trailers and TV spots did indeed give away a fair amount of this film, and many of its funnier jokes. For those who go into the movie sufficiently spoiled, however, there's still enough meat on the proverbial bone to result in an entertaining time. I definitely won't mind seeing this film again, or listening to its lovely soundtrack. A Million Ways to Die in the West. Indulgently long, but very amusing. I'll score this a 7 on the Rate-O-Matic. Although it could have been improved with a tighter edit, this is a simple, charming, and enjoyable story with likable characters and plenty of funny moments. I thought it was cool. Now let's take a look at some tweet critiques to see what you're saying about other films currently playing in theaters. If you see a new movie in theaters, tweet your review with the JPMN hashtag. Next week, on the 70th anniversary of D-Day, we'll be reviewing 5 war pictures, one from each of America's biggest conflicts: The Patriot, Gettysburg, All Quiet on the Western Front, Schindler's List, and Lone Survivor, brand new on DVD next week. A wide selection of movies from across the decades, but if you get a chance to see them, share your opinions by voting in the polls below or by leaving a comment review. If you'd like to watch more movie night reviews, check out the related videos on the right, or click subscribe to be notified of all new content. Also be sure to follow me on social media for updates between episodes. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thank you for watching and listening. Until next time, have a good movie night.